Fox News Alert right now because the White House briefing is happening. Jay Carney taking a question right now about a report that just surfaced that says that President Obama actually had lived with that uncle of his, Omar Obama, up in Boston. The White House had previously said that he had never met this uncle. Our own Ed Henry just asked the question about how that miscommunication could have happened if he had lived with him for 3 weeks when he was going to law school. Here he is.
Handled appropriately by.
You say there was no interference.
Absolutely zero interference.
Okay. Healthcare. Senator Harry Reid gave an interview back in Las Vegas to one of the stations back there, and he defended the president, previously saying, if you like your plan, you can keep it, because he was saying, as I think you've alluded to before, that policies change, etc. And Harry Reid said, quote, I still go back and say what I said earlier. What the president said was true. If you want to keep the insurance you have, you can keep it. Do you agree with Senator Reid? Is that still true, that if you have a plan that you like, the insurance you like, you can keep it?
Ed, I think the president has addressed this in detail, not just in answering questions, but also in making a policy change to address the problem that has arisen because of cancellation. So I think he acknowledged that this created problems that need to be addressed, and so he has.
But that's just for a year, right? What the president came here and said, because he was fixing it for a year.
He extended the policy that I think the rule change allowed, told the states that there was nothing in the Affordable Care Act that would prevent them now from extending those policies beyond where they could have been extended in the past.
We've just been listening now to our own reporter asking the question there because Ed Henry, because that's something we just talked about on this show, was Harry Reid coming out and saying that what the president had said was true. It's hard to keep it all straight, but nonetheless, Jay Carney getting pummeled with these questions on a daily basis. And we're getting some new insight into the costs of the Obama administration's latest regulatory agenda. The report comes out twice a year. It's jam-packed with new rules for federal agencies to follow. Our own Shannon Bream is live for us in Washington. So, Shannon, how much is this going to cost? Who's actually footing this bill?
Well, Gretchen, let's start by looking at some of the top federal agencies contributing to that $1.8 trillion price tag. And environmental regulations come at the top, tagged at a cost of $379 billion. After that, the Department of Health and Human Services, that makes sense, of course, because they're implementing most of the Obamacare regulations, nearly $188 billion in regulatory costs. And the Department of Labor comes in at nearly $125 billion. Most of that cost is going to be borne by private industry. Those are not costs for the government. So, of course, that trickles down to you and me, the consumers. The author of this new report that puts that price tag at $1.8 trillion points out, hey, just a few years ago in the 1990s, that was actually the number for the entire federal budget, Gretchen.
So what's the accountability for the agencies creating all of these regulations, Shannon?
Well, this is something that's really upsetting folks when they look at just how far they reach. Congress last year passed, and the president signed about 127 laws, but there were more than 3,700 regulations that went out. And so the fact is this, essentially it's lawmaking by a non-elected body. Here's what happens. Those agencies issue the rules, and there's no check on it. Here's Wayne Cruz from the Competitive Enterprise Institute.
The agencies are issuing rules, but they're not accountable to voters the way legislators are. You have the unelected making law, and I think there's a great argument this nation needs to have about the unconstitutionality of much of the lawmaking that takes place in the country.
Of course, if you're a regular citizen and you can show you've been harmed by one of these regulations, you can go to court. And by the way, the EPA is facing several lawsuits all across the country. At least a couple of them will be argued this term at the Supreme Court. Gretchen?
Yep, covered a lot of those as well. Thanks so much, Shannon.
You got it.